And now we're going to talk about what to say and what to try without shame or overhaul. Let's be real. Changing how we interact with others around food can feel just as emotional as changing what we eat ourselves. It's not only about stopping what we offer, it's about how we hold the relationship during the shift, especially when food has been a form of love, comfort, or bonding. Even small changes can feel huge. That's why we don't begin with a full household overhaul. We don't throw out every trigger or enforce brand new rules. That kind of all or nothing approach tends to provoke pushback, both from our inner parts and from the people around us. So instead, we start small. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Here's why starting small actually works, not just emotionally, but neurologically. Neuroscience shows that behavior change sticks when we have safety, repetition, and emotional regulation. It's not about doing something huge and dramatic. It's about doing something calm and repeatable. In 2012, researcher Philippa Lally found that it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit, and that consistency, not intensity, was the most predictive factor. That means your nervous system needs time and safety to adapt. And if you're doing parts work, this also is where your protectors come in. They're more likely to support the change if they help shape the pace, if they aren't ashamed for resisting, and if they're gently invited to try something new. Change doesn't have to be dramatic to be powerful. So let's talk about real life. What do you say in the moment when someone asks for something you no longer want to offer, or when you're trying to show love without food? Here are some gentle, respectful scripts to try. If someone asks for a processed food, you can say, "We're trying something new that's been helping us feel more clear and calm." Or, "I've found that having less of that stuff around really helps with focus and mood." Or, "We're experimenting with a reset in this house. Not about rules, just about support." If you're trying to show love without food, you might try, "Of you and wanted to offer time, not a treat." Or, "I'm learning new ways to care that feel nourishing in a different way. Want to try it with me?" Or, "You matter to me and I want to give you something that actually helps long term." These aren't just polite ways to say no, they're powerful reframes that keep the door open to connection. And the best thing about this is that you can create your own that are adaptable to your personality and your situations. Sometimes the tension isn't about what others ask, it's about you trying to stop buying or serving things that have become routine. Here's one approach. If you want that, feel free to pick it up for yourself. "I'm working on not keeping it in the house right now." Or, "I'm happy to support you, but I need a little distance from that stuff in our shared space." You're not policing, you're setting a boundary for your own safety. And when it comes to routines, like movie night or after school snacks, try shifting the ritual, not the relationship. Maybe instead of snacks, it's a cozy blanket, a shared playlist, a candle, a foot massage. Instead of food as comfort, try a relief tool like time together, a hot drink or warm compress, music, laughter, or lightheartedness, offering help with something they're struggling with. We're not removing comfort, we're upgrading it. We've seen some incredible examples from people in recovery who began making these small shifts. One person shared, I stopped buying the snack that always triggered me for the kids and asked if they'd be open to trying something different. They were totally fine with it. I was the only one worried. And another told us instead of baking the usual birthday dessert, I created a celebration table with candles, photos, and notes of appreciation. It turned into something deeper than food. And another person shared, I let my partner know I was struggling with having certain things in the pantry. We came up with a shared shelf just for my recovery safe items. It helps so much. These aren't massive changes, but they shift the emotional tone of a whole household. Now, let's bring it all into action with 3 small experiments to try this week, if you're up for it. Choose one food item you've been buying or offering to others and try replacing it, pausing it, or reframing how you offer it. Choose one phrase from today's list, say it out loud to yourself, or write it in your journal. Let it become familiar. Or number 3, choose one new ritual that expresses care or love without processed food, something that feels genuine, simple, and repeatable. Remember, you don't have to get this perfect. One step done with clarity and compassion is enough to start changing the emotional ecosystem of your home. You're not doing it alone. We're in this together. Today, we're going to be talking about what to expect emotionally. If you've been thinking about stopping the habit of giving processed foods to others and you feel hesitation, if even talking about it brings up anxiety, if you've pictured someone disappointed or confused or hurt and guilt bubbles up, I want you to know that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something human and actually something incredibly brave. Because this isn't just about what we serve at the table. It's about what we've believed about love, connection, and our role in keeping others and ourselves okay. This shift touches our identity. It touches relationships. And it absolutely touches the parts of us that have always worked so hard to keep the peace. So let's talk about why this feels so hard, even when we want the change. The brain is wired for predictability, not optimization. That means even good change that we have chosen, can still feel like a threat to the nervous system. And when the caregiving behaviors you've changing have become practiced for years, maybe even decades, your body may interpret stopping as danger. There's science behind this. Research in social, cognitive, and affective neuroscience found that when people experience rejection or identity loss, their brains activate the anterior cingulate cortex, the same region in our brain that processes physical pain. So if you're thinking it's just a snack, why does this feel so big? This is why. Because to your brain and body, it's not just a snack. It's part of a long-standing emotional pattern. In parts work terms, this is when your protectors may start to panic. They're not just worried about someone else's reaction. They're worried about your own safety, your worth, and your belonging. Here's what those protectors might say. This will make things awkward. You can respond gently. I get that you want things to feel smooth and safe. Let's try one small change and see how it goes. We don't have to make a big deal of it. Or they might say, they'll think I'm judging them. And you can say, you're right, we have used food to stay close. But what if closeness could mean honesty and support instead? And this one comes up a lot. I'm not sure who I am if I'm not the one who brings the treats. To that, you can say, let's find new ways to feel valuable, not for what we provide, but for who we are. These parts aren't obstacles, they're invitations. Every single one is a doorway into deeper recovery work. When we slow down and listen instead of override, something powerful happens. We're not just changing a behavior, we're healing the belief systems underneath it. We're shifting from, I have to do this to be loved, to, I can be loved while being honest, discerning, and boundaried. That's real recovery. It's not just about food. It's about identity. Because these changes are emotional, especially if food was your go-to way of connecting. It's important to have tools that help your body feel safe as you rewire. Here are a few gentle strategies that you can try when things feel tender. Grounding touch. Place one hand on your chest and one on your belly and breathe deeply. This calms the vagus nerve and helps the body signal safety. Name the part. You might say silently, this feels like the part of me who always tried to be the peacemaker. Orient to safety. Look around the room and name 5 safe things you can see. This brings your nervous system back into the present. Connect with community. Talk to someone who understands, not to get fixed, just to be witnessed. Let me leave you with a few reminders, ones that I hope you'll carry with you as you practice these new shifts. You're not taking something away. You're offering something deeper. You are not being difficult. You're being discerning. You're not abandoning anyone. You're just beginning to show up differently. And yes, it might feel tender at first, but it won't always. With every small, compassionate choice, you're reinforcing a new story, one where you're allowed to protect your mind, your space, and your recovery, even while still loving others. That's not selfish. That's sacred. And now we'll talk about this week's journaling prompts and final thoughts. Let's begin with a simple question, but one that opens a big door. What has giving food to others meant to you over the years? Has it been a way to show love, to keep the peace, to fill a role you were expected to play? Sometimes it's helpful to ask, what value was I expressing? What kind of person was I being when I handed over that plate or packed that lunch? You may discover that this gesture was never just about the food. It was about identity. Now ask yourself, what do I fear will happen if I stopped offering these processed foods? Disappointment? Conflict? Rejection? These aren't silly fears. They're deeply rooted. See if you can name the parts of you that carry these concerns. The peacemaker, the hostess, the giver. Let them speak. They have a story to tell, and they deserve to be heard before anything changes. If processed food was your way of showing love, what would it mean to express love another way? Maybe it's time. Maybe it's presence. Maybe it's the courage to ask how someone really is and stay to listen. This isn't about withholding. It's about offering something more lasting, a connection that doesn't melt or crumble or leave a crash behind. If you gave yourself full permission to protect your space, to live your recovery out loud, to let your offerings to others match your healing on the inside, what would change? One item removed from the cart, one boundary spoken gently, one choice made from love instead of obligation. These little realignments, they matter. They say, I'm healing, and they invite others to do the same just by witnessing you. Recovery isn't just about what you eat, it's about how you live. When you stop giving processed foods to others, you're not just breaking a habit, you're reclaiming your home, your nervous system, your story, your identity. You're choosing connection over convenience, integrity over image, healing over habits. Yes, it may stir up resistance, but resistance isn't a problem. It's a sign that your system is waking up. You're not betraying others. You're protecting all of you. And over time, you may become a model for someone who didn't even know another way was possible. One drawer cleared, one phrase spoken, one small ritual reimagined. That's all it takes to begin. You don't have to change everything, just the next honest thing. And we'll be right here with you. One cue at a time, one choice at a time, one act of care for yourself and for others at a time. Thank you.